watching every 90s anime in release order starting with the winter season of 1990. If a show released before that, I won't be covering it. If a show has a season 1 that came out before 1990, I won't be watching season 2 or any of the movies or specials that came out in the 90s. I watched the entirety of every show minus a few exceptions here and there. I'll cover those when I get there, and this is part 3, so I'll pick up right where we left off with part 2. First up, releasing March 20th, 1991, Madara. This is 2-hour-long episodes based on a 5-volume manga. We open up in the evil fortress of the evil Moroku. The Princess Sakuya has given birth to his twin sons, but one of them was stillborn. The other was born with a dragon mark on his forehead, and Moroku goes up and absorbs a chakra from the baby and leaves it to die. That's what he does. He has kids, and then they get born with chakra, he absorbs it, he can live forever. Well, this old man Tatara, who was a servant for Princess Sakuya, he decides to take the baby and save its life, replacing all of its body parts with gimmicks, which is this show's word for artificial limbs, you know, like mechanical prosthetic. He's a cyborg now, auto male. Years later, 2 warriors, Chaos and Seishinjia, I will just be calling him Seishin because that's a hard name. They work for Moroku and they decide to betray him. And this rabbit has a funny voice.
Yes, my lord.
Cut to our hero Madara. He's a teenager now. Him and Tatara are traveling blacksmiths, and one day they stop at a nice little village when this bull starts going all crazy. Whoa! And this guy tries to stop it and gets pushed. Yeah, bro, it's a bull. If you aren't anime strong, why did you even try? Because our guy Madara is anime strong, and he grabs that bull by the horns and he stops it, saving this woman. Her name is Kirin, and this little rat thing saw all that. The evil. Tatara helps repair people in town while Madara flirts with Kirin. She wants to travel and see the world. The village elder likes them, so he offers them a permanent home here, and they decide, yo, that sounds nice. It's time to settle down. Well, that night, the little rat thing, it breaks this ward stone that was keeping Moroku's army out of the village, and the next day Moroku's army shows up looking for Chaos and Seishin, and Madara gets into a fight with them. Oh, and the bad guys notice that he's got the dragon crest on his forehead. That crest, plus the ancient sword he carries around, the Kusanagi, prove that he's a descendant of the Ugaya royal family, which is something you never want to be. That little rat turns big and is about to kill Madara, but Tatara, he uses a spell and it makes the bad guys retreat. By using that magic, it weakens them. And that night, Tatara equips Madara with a bunch of really strong battle gimmicks. Before he can tell Madara how to use them properly, the bad guys attack again, killing nearly everybody in the village, and Madara goes out to fight them. He's losing the fight, but when he learns that he needs to put his sword up to his forehead to unlock his gimmick's true power, he does it and starts shooting missiles and gets electric tether arms and beats up all the bad guys real quick. But when he gets back to Tatara, he's dying. And while he's dying, he drops some lore. He lets Madara know that he's Moroku's son and that his mother was from the royal Ugaya family, and that he wanted Madara to bring the family back. But now he's all, live your life however you want, Madara. I'm dead. And passes away. With everyone in the village dead, Madara and Kirin start walking the desert. Madara set on revenge against Moroku. One night while they're traveling, they meet Chaos and Seishin and learn about the Cloister of Flames, an ancient tower dungeon where the legendary Majin are, 2 ancient mechs that are really strong. They get there and there's lots of enemies and traps and delusions, and there's a boss monster they gotta fight, and everybody's losing, and Chaos tries to res the Majin, but Moroku, he has his real body captive, and he does something to it, and now him and Seishin can't fight. I'm not exactly sure why he doesn't just kill them outright, but he can like manipulate their real bodies, and the bodies that we see aren't the real bodies. Things look hopeless when Kirin picks up the Kusanagi and it glows, and she reses the Majin, and now they will only obey her because she brought them back to life. And then the Majin blasts the monster, and then Madara, he gets up and he does a let me finish this myself thing, and he wins the fight. Then Moroku makes the Cloister of Flames crumble, and our heroes make it out off screen. Cut to Moroku, who summons Kagyo, Madara's twin brother, from this pit of dead babies, and gives him the task of killing Madara. Our heroes get to this city when they meet up with some rebels, and Madara agrees to join them in the fight against Moroku. They're about to head out by ship when they're met by Kagyo, and Kagyo reveals himself as Madara's twin. And when the rebels learn that Madara is the son of Moroku, they don't like him no more. Ew, what a filthy fucker. Then Kagyo says some cryptic stuff and vanishes. When they get to the ship, it's being attacked by the enemy army, so they fight back against the attackers, and then they get on the ship and escape. While at sea, they get attacked by some assassins, but they repel them with the help of Kagyo. What? It's one of those I'm gonna be the one that kills you situations. Then after that, the fight's still going on, and Madara and Kirin fall into the ocean and pass out. When they wake up, they're in a magic bubble that floats them to the past, where Madara talks to his mother for a little bit while she's pregnant with him. They have a really touching conversation, and at the end she tells him that he must team up with his brother to defeat Moroku. Then his bubble floats away and they wake up on some driftwood. Then the rebels are in a skyship now and they pick up Madara and Kirin. The skyship is piloted by Hakutaku, he's this old man, he's got some monkeys. The airship gets attacked and at first no one will help, so Madara is out there fighting alone, but eventually they do. Yeah, we're friends again, yeah. And after that they slam the ship into Moroku's castle and then they storm it. While searching around, Kirin gets stolen by some wet tentacles. Madara follows the wet trail to Kageo, who has killed Moroku and absorbed his body. Now he's a weird tentacle tree thing and they start to fight. During the fight, Kirin gets hit. She dies in Madara's arms. And then it turns out that Moroku isn't dead. He got swallowed by Kageo, but then he takes over and throws Kageo up and he gets all big strong. And he shoots a mouth beam, and he takes off Madara's arm and leg. Then Kageo dies from a blast on purpose. What? You see, Madara and Kageo each have an ancient sword, and the swords can combine and become even more ancient. But in order for that to happen, one of the owners has to die. So Kageo dies so Madara can get the completed sword and defeat Moroku. And now that the sword's completed, he gets his limbs back and he kills Moroku in one cut. Then Madara's ghost mother shows up and tells him how to res Kirin with his new powers, and he brings her back. Ghost Kageo's there too, and Ghost Mama and Kageo vanish together. And then the castle crumbles and our heroes get away. Then while they're reminiscing on that adventure, Chaos Sensation, they go off to go find their real bodies. And Madara and Kirin decide to go with them. Hakutaku was actually Granddad Tataro. What? I don't know how. Then he vanishes, and the rabbit guy from earlier just turned into a regular rabbit. And that's where it is. Yo, I give it, when his ghost mom and brother were floating away, ghost brother was naked, but ghost mom wasn't. Why did she get ghost clothes? Why don't he get, what's going on there? Out of 10. Up next, releasing March 29th, 1991, Luna Varga. We got 4 28-minute episodes here. The kingdom of Donbass is trying to take over the kingdom of Rimsbell. They're given a chance to surrender, but the princess Zena turns it down, and we meet our hero Luna. Luna's also a princess of Rimsbell and a great fighter. After they refuse to surrender, the enemy prepares for a siege, but Luna goes out that night and torches their tents and their food storages. She gets into a fight with the enemy general Batos, who chases her to this cliff and falls off of it, and while he's trying to hold on, they start like taking his fingers off and make him sneeze. It's very Looney Tunes. During a war. The siege continues though, and Luna goes to her granddad for some help, and she finds this secret staircase and follows them into this huge room with a bright light. The light asks if she wants power. She says yes. She wants the power to save Rimsbell, and she gets some power all right. Now what do you think the power is? Is it A, powerful sword that grants her the armor of the ancients and makes her unstoppable? 2, superpower. She can shoot beams out of her hands and fly around. Or she gets a Godzilla for a butt. The answer is or. Turns out a long time ago, one of their ancestors made a deal with this demon to defeat the evil invaders of old. Then he sealed it away under the castle, and now Luna has awakened it and it's her butt. And it starts rampaging and beating up the enemy army with ease. The demon's name is Varga, and now she's its brain kind. It would be a mindless monster, but because they're in this bond, it can actually think straight and it does what she wants. While Luna is dealing with the bad guys, a demon shows up and grabs her sister Vina. Oh no! So Luna's gonna go save her. She makes sure that Rimsbell is harder to attack by blowing up the land that leads to Rimsbell, and then she heads off after Vina. On her way there, she transforms back into a person and she has a tail now. She's naked, and in this forest, she meets Lord Miru, who takes her to Rogurian town, where Bato's chasing this girl, Ril, and he sees Luna, and now he's chasing both of them. And Ril tells Luna that she's the most popular girl in town, and that isn't important at all. They have a wacky chase through the city until they end up at the palace. Look at this fountain with water coming out his mouth. There's a goofy mage at the palace named Gilbert who summons a bunch of wyverns. So Luna summons Varga and uses loud voice magic to blow up all the wyverns, because you don't have to animate sound magic. Luna summoning Varga breaks this seal on this water demon snake, which is all according to this evil guy's plan. We don't know who he is yet though. The snake is called the Cross Serpent, and it's just a mindless demon that wants destruction. So Luna fights it, but it drags her into the sea and starts whipping her around. They manage to drag it down and hit it with a voice blast and kill it. They tell her there's a rumor that her sister was taken to Donbass, so they head there. They also tell Luna about this legend where a demon will break the seals of other demons, and that points to her. So every time she summons Varga, she might break a nearby seal and then bring out a demon. So they, just be wary whenever you summon Varga. They tell her that. Donbass hears that Luna's on her way, so they prepare their army. So Gilbert summons his wyverns and they storm Donbass, but the bad guys summon a bunch of golems that throw rocks at the wyverns, and it's just a big old war. Then this chicken lays an egg, and they show us. The wyvern distraction lets Luna sneak into the castle, but they get caught pretty quick and take it to the Emperor, who's just being used by this demon who's alright. During the fight, the monster drops Vina, and Bato saves her. But then the monster also drops Miru on top of Bato, and they're all gonna fall to their death, but Luna summons Varga and saves them. But that's what the demon wanted. And her summoning Varga undoes a seal, and that blue demon brings out its true form. Evil gray Godzilla that drains Varga's powers. So things are looking grim. And Luna runs away to get her strength back, and she ends up in this lore-looking place. Yeah, it's lore time. A long time ago, 12 monsters were used to take over the world, but one of Luna's ancestors betrayed them to save it. Then Miru shows up with a legendary sword that can slay the evil gray Godzilla, but it affects Varga too because it shines off this light and he can't transform. So Luna goes up there in human form and distracts the evil Godzilla. Then Miru jumps up and sticks a sword in its eye, and that blocks the light and it lets Varga come out, and he hits it with the blast voice and blows up the evil gray Godzilla's body, but its head is still alive, and it grabs Miru, and Luna has to stab it with the sword, also killing Miru. I mean, I don't think she couldn't stab a different area. Like, you gotta go straight for him or something. A big white light goes up into the sky that can be seen throughout the realm, and the credits roll. At the end of the credits during the first 3 episodes, they end with her sitting naked at this tree. Well, at the end of the last episode's credits, she's clothed and is chilling with Miru and all the other characters. So maybe they live? I don't know. It's kind of open-ended. This show is it's about a war, right? They light the enemy raid camp on fire and all this other stuff, and they're trying to siege the castle, but surprisingly nobody dies until the very end right there, if they even died. It's more of a wacky show. I give it, if Luna had been in that show Kaijo where they fight with their butts, she would have killed it because her butt's a Godzilla. Out of 10. Up next, releasing March 20th, 1991, Dragon Fist. That's back when titles like that were still available. It's like when you start an MMO and your name is Dragon. Whoa, dude, you got in early. These days, all the titles are taken up, so we get things like The Misfit of Demon King Academy, History's Strongest Demon King reincarnates and goes to school with his descendants. Season 2. This was a 39-minute situation. There's a land home to dragon people. When a dragon person is born, they'll be holding an orb. And if that orb is dark silver, that person is the next heir to the clan. But Fei Long, who is the current clan chief's son, was born holding a transparent orb. This makes him an outcast. Ew, what a freak. Ugh, that guy's a total ill omen. So his father says,
Fei Long, you must become stronger if the people are going to accept you. So I'm sending you to Japan where a bunch of crazy stuff is always happening. Like mechs and chosen ones pop up there all the time. The other day I heard about this kid who was hit by a car and died. Flat out died, Fei Long. But then he came back to life a few days later, and now he can shoot laser beams from his fingers. Isn't that crazy? I heard that and was like, what? I'm sure if I send you there, then some of that will make you stronger.
Fei Long attends Japanese high school, and one day this girl Fuyuki is about to get snatched. So Fei Long makes the bad guys leave. He asks her what that was about, and when she won't tell him, he shakes her and gets her to, and then she tells him. Turns out, Fuyuka is a clone. If she goes back to the lab, she'll just be an experiment, and all she wants, she's just a girl. She just wants to be a girl. After he listens to her story, she's walking around alone when Kaga shows up. Kaga's somebody who knew her original self, and he tries to get her back to the lab.
Back to the lab again.
But when she sees his hurt eye, he runs away. He's like, oh, no one can see my hurt eye. Ugh. Very emo. But then the goons show back up and punch her pretty softly in the tummy. Listen. And she passes out. Fei Long finds her discarded belongings, and he gets curious. At the lab, Sugiura here lets Fuyuka know that Kaga is also a clone. He died after the real her died. That scar on his eye is from a messed up cloning, a botched cloning. The real Fuyuka died from cancer, and then Kaga died trying to figure out cloning. It doesn't tell us how. Fuyuka is about to end it all by stabbing herself with some glass off the floor, which is wild. Fei Long, he breaks in and gets her out of there. Sugiura sends his goons after him, and Kaga and Sugiura have an argument. Kaga knows the real reason Sugiura helped clone Fuyuka was because Sugiura's mom is in the hospital with a bad heart, and he wants to clone her. And this makes Sugiura mad, so he punches Kaga in the tummy and he passes out. Yo, real quick, not only did these two high schoolers figure out cloning in 1991, but they also set up a lab in an abandoned building. They had to get the equipment and just set it all up as high schoolers. Oh, there's also dragon people, and that doesn't really seem to play much of a role here. The only believable part here is the goons, man. Goons is easy to get. Hell, I got goons. They'll break your legs for nothing. But Yuka and Fei Long run into the woods, but she doesn't care anymore. She doesn't want to go on. He tells her to stop that. Life is beautiful and worth living, even if she is a clone. And while they're chilling, one of the goons shows up and they beat him up together. They get to this old rope bridge when another goon attacks with a chain weapon that destroys some of the bridge. If Yuka runs while Fei Long fights them off, and the goons are winning when Fei Long goes dragon mode and beats them up off screen. In the woods, Fuyuka runs into Sugiura and Kaga. Kaga tries to convince Sugiura to let Fuyuka live, but he ain't having it. So he brings out his Assassin Creed knife and is gonna get her. But Kaga gets in the way and gets got instead, which is pretty stupid. Why not like attack him or something? Because then you're just gonna die and then he's just gonna get hurt. Then Kaga lets Sugiura know that his mom died this morning. Sugiura shook. Oh no! But he gets over it pretty quick and Kaga dies. Then Sugiura's gonna kill Fuyuka when Fei Long shows up. They fight and Fei Long hits that Hadouken. Sugiura passes away after a short speech about his mama and death. Fei Long sits with Fuyuka as she dies from the cancer that killed the original Fuyuka. She says some sad stuff about wishing she wasn't dying and then passes away. Fei Long cries a single tear and the credits roll. I give it, I like to think he went back to his dad and had a conversation similar to this one. Dad, there was this whole cloning thing going on.
Oh, you see, I knew it. I knew you would get wrapped up in some of that, man. Oh, man. You even shot a Hadouken. I can't even do that. That's crazy. That's so cool.
Out of 10. Up next, releasing March 21st, 1991, Burn Up. This is 45 minutes. It stars our cops Maki, Raimi, and Yuka. And it opens up with a car chase. They're chasing some kidnappers. And the chase ends when Maki shoots one of the bad guys in the head and blows his shit up. They think this kidnapping was organized by Samuel McCoy, who runs a slave trade. So the chief puts Kenji and Bamba on the case. Looking at these two, who do you think is Kenji and who is Bamba? I'm just saying, they did it, not me. Cut to McCoy, who is doing some shady deals with this old dude, and he gives him a slave girl. Terrible. Cut to the police office where everyone's doing paperwork, and we learn that Kenji and Maki are dating because they flirt, and Remy makes fun of them for flirting and screams hard. I feel like that scream sounds a little familiar. That night, Maki takes a shower and we get to watch. Then her and Kenji are about to have some naked times when the crew shows up. Bamba got a lead on the slavery case and they follow up on it tomorrow, but the guy they were gonna talk to got moided. Then they hit up Satron 7 nightclub to follow up on a different lead. While walking around, Yuka meets this girl sitting all alone and sad. Her boyfriend stood her up and she starts to cry. Yuka tries to make her feel better, but it's a trap. They knock her out and throw her in a car. Maki and Remy try to stop the kidnappers, but they get beat up and pass out. Yuka wakes up in a dungeon with the other girls, and when the kidnappers learn she's a cop, they start trying to get info out of her. And then the cops, their hands are tied. They don't have enough information to go to McCoy's place and get Yuka. So Maki and Remy, they take the law into their own hands. Rogue cops out to get their partner back. They get some power suits and guns and a SWAT tank and head for McCoy's place. And then they remote send the tank through the front and cause a big commotion while they sneak in a different way. The rest of the police force gets word of gunfire in the area, and now they have an excuse to go. And they send out all the cops. Maki and Remy are running around the mansion and they find the victims and they get them out of there. And then they go back in to get McCoy, shooting down goons along the way. And then they run into one more girl, but she's the girl from earlier. So when they go to rescue her, it's a trap and she shoots them. Then McCoy shows up and shoots them some more. Things are looking grim for our heroes. McCoy's talking trash and a bunch of metal doors come down all around the mansion. McCoy's about to finish them off, and we get a lot of those dramatic back and forth cuts. Gun, Maki, Raimi, gun. Maki, gun, Raimi, gun, Maki, gun, Raimi, gun, Maki, gun, Raimi, gun, Maki, gun, Raimi, gun, Maki, gun, Banba! He gets a shot off from a skylight. And then the cops get the gates up and place McCoy under arrest. Our heroes are all smiles and we go to credits. This was alright. I give it as an ad that plays during the show for Dragon Quest 39 and a poster for Rambo 12, just to let us know that this takes place in the future. Out of 10. Up next, releasing March 22nd, 1991, Makyu Senjo, Dark Warrior. This is 2 50-minute episodes, and our guy here is Joe. He's good with computers and developing a new good one in Silicon Valley with his assistant Lloyd. He's got a good life and he's on the cover of Time magazine. He misses his ex-girlfriend though, Judy, the one that got away. Well, he sees her while driving one day, and he follows her like a crazy person. Only it's not his ex, it's just a woman that looks like her. He gets confused, and some of his memories start to get kind of weird. And when he tries to look up his own information in the American government database is classified. While snooping about himself, he meets this nice cop who starts helping him investigate, but they start getting a little too close to the truth, and these super goons show up. Bullets don't hurt them, and well, the nice cop, he gets his neck squeezed so hard his eyes pop out. It looks like it's all Jover when Joe goes super mode. He gets big jacked and rips one of the bad guys in half. Then he backhands the other one's head off, but he was in a wild craze. When he comes back to his senses, he's still all big jacked. He goes to his family home and finds nothing. Then Lloyd shows up and tells him the truth. Joe was made in a lab by a man named David Rockford. He was created to be a superhuman, and all his memories are lies. Rockford wants to change the human race. Lloyd tells him to just give in and come with him, or they're gonna bomb this entire city. Joe says no, and they do it. Then Lloyd, he goes big mode, and they fight it out. And Joe wins the fight by punching a hole in Lloyd's head. Lloyd still talks after that. Then he vows to get revenge on Rockford. So he heads to where he thinks Rockford is and has to fight this ninja in the woods and squishes his head with Then he's walking on this beach, has a vision of a whale, then passes out. And this girl finds him and takes him to this fish lab. Her name is Aya. She has Esper powers. She feels a psychic bond with the whale. The fish lab is running tests on that whale, and they find out that it's a clone. What? Well, that's when the bad guys show up, and they blow up the fish lab, and they're trying to shoot that whale, but Joe stops them. Then Joe gets Aya out of there, but they get chased by soldiers, and she uses her psychic powers to block the bullets. Whoa. But then the bad guys take her father and his assistant Stepha hostage, and they capture Joe and Aya. He gets put in a tank and gets to talk with one of the scientists who created him. Aya mind talks to him while he's in there, and she says she's gonna try to find a map. And then they inject Joe with a bunch of stuff till he passes out. When he wakes up, Aya has found a map. Figure out together that they can do some crazy psychic magic, and Joe gets even stronger when they do that. He gets his orange aura on him, and he punches this door so hard it crushes the guard, and then he starts heading towards Aya. He throws rocks so hard they're like bullets, and then he runs real fast. He gets to Aya and they make a break for it, but Aya passes out from using her powers. They make it to the woods, but then they gotta fight this enormous rhino. It chases them for a while until Joe, he jumps in the air and throws a rock in its eye, and he punches its horn off, but he gets hit. He makes another charge, and with Aya's help, he punches it so hard it falls over. Then the rhino cries a bit, and Joe puts it out of its misery. The bad guys show up in the Sky Fortress, and they got the same hostages. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I love when bad guys repeat their plan. They do an exchange, Joe for Aya's dad and Stepha, but it's a trap, and they put a bomb on Stepha, and Papa's really another clone, and they have a big fight while the skyship is exploding, and Joe punches the clone so hard, it explodes. Then the ship crashes, and Joe's all right. He makes it back to Aya, and it turns out that this is the fire scene from Bambi, because all the forest critters start running from the big fire, and then Stepha, she dies. And Joe has a hologram chat with Rockford, who tells them that Aya's father is being held in Brazil, and to come there if they want to get him back. They go to the beach and watch the ocean. Free Willy does a jump, and then he tells them that they can travel with him, so they float off together. You know, I know I make a lot of things up, but that really happened. That's where it ends. I give it, I know it's messed up, but when they started shooting rockets at that whale, I busted out laughing. It's just me. It's something about shooting rockets at a whale is just funny to me. You don't see that a lot, shooting rockets at a psychic whale. Out of 10. Up next, releasing March 22nd, 1991, be-bop kaizokuban. Kaizokuban means bootleg. This has 3 40-minute episodes. I remember Be-Bop High School from part 1. Well, this is a parody of that, and it's funny sometimes, but it's really gross and perverse and weird. Like, it's peak teenage boy boner humor. It's more of a series of skits than real episodes. I think each episode had about 10 skits in it. Yeah, it's just perverse and weird. Lots of booger stuff. I give it one of the first scenes in the original Be-Bop High School. They walk up to these guys and they start a fight. Well, in this one, they walk up to them and kiss the boy. I don't know, it's just funny. Out of 10. Up next, releasing March 25th, 1991, Judo-bu Monogatari. This is 2 50-minute episodes, and I can only find 1 episode, and it was unsubbed. So here goes my best guess at what happened. This is our main character, Sando. He goes to Japanese cartoon high school with his friends, boy, girl, and girl. And I think he has a thing for girl. In class, he daydreams a bit. Then one day, some of the members of the judo club come up and start recruiting members for the school team. So Sando and his friend go check it out. And it's a bunch of dudes throwing each other, but the judo guys make it sound sick. So they decide to give it a shot. They do some of the fun training, then the upperclassmen hit them with the harder training. Tiptoe hops while getting screamed at. Then if they want to join the club, they gotta shave their heads before the next training session. That night after practice, Sando looks out to the sky while thinking about his decision. Man, what am I gonna do? And the next day he shows up with a shaved head and gets laughed at. And it turns out his friend decided not to join, but a couple of the other guys that showed up to the first practice, they did join. Heck yeah. And that night after practice, he hangs out with girl, but she ditches him for a cool guy who's on a motorcycle smoking cigarettes. Damn, man, damn. They do more training. And Sando starts riding his old rusty bike to school instead of taking the bus, get some extra cardio in. Then he gets to attend his first judo tournament as a spectator. He learns about the rules and judges and referees, how the points are scored, and their ace loses. What? Then later on his bike ride home, he gets jumped by some street thugs, but he defends himself because he knows judo now, beating up two of them. Then the cops show up and they skedaddle. He rides off thinking that judo is sick. I could never defend myself before. Now I'm cool. And that's it. You gotta read the manga to know what happens next. Cool show. I love sports anime. I give it at practice one time. This beefer shows up while the new guys are standing there, and he's got a broken hand, and he takes off his shirt and just stretches in front of him without explaining anything. He just is like, yo, check me out. It turns out he's the captain, but he didn't explain none of that at first. Out of 10. Up next, releasing April 3rd, 1991, Dr. Typhoon. This is a 45-minute movie, and I could only find it unsubbed. So this is Dr. Typhoon. Dude is really good at golf. He shows up for a big golfing game in America. This woman is supposed to be his liaison while he's here, and he's harassing her and touching her, which is not okay, but very common in Japanese cartoons. Then he hits the green, and honestly, dude's kind of a jerk. When the other golfers try to golf, he laughs really loud and he says stuff that gets in their heads. I feel like that's not allowed, but hey, he always wears a smile and golfs his heart out. He leaves it all on the green. He keeps harassing that girl, but Typhoon's main assistant tells her to keep her mouth shut if she knows what's good for her. This dude, after Dr. Typhoon says something to him, he fills up his junk for some reason, his own junk, not Typhoon. Typhoon moves on in the tournament. He has one terrible game, but then he studies up on the wind in the area. He watches the weather channel, and then he starts doing better. He's the favorite to win the tournament. This here is a different golfer, and he has ties with some shady dudes, and they kidnap Typhoon's lady friends and say he'll kill them if he doesn't throw the game. They're being held in this car, and they manage to let Typhoon know where they are. So he hits a golf ball at that car, and it goes through the window, and that gives them the chance to escape. And then the media kind of confronts the kidnappers. I think they're just taking pictures of them. Not too sure what happens there because they don't get in trouble, but now Typhoon can golf without restrictions. Then at hole 16, he takes his time, lines it up, and gets a hole in one. Then at the last hole, they're neck to neck, him and the bad guy. And the bad guy's about to win, but his ball barely misses the hole. Then DT lines that shit up. The bad guys put up a sign that says they will kill his friends, but he golfs the ball straight into the hole and wins. Then he throws the winning golf ball to the girl he's been harassing, and she blushes. Ooh, it's okay to harass people as long as you're good at something. That's the message they're sending, not me, them. She gets wet. That's it. I give it the music that plays when this little girl looks at his junk. Out of 10. Up next, releasing April 3rd, 1991, Matchless Raijin Oh. This bad boy's 51 episodes. It opens up with a space pyramid crashing into a satellite. And here we have Lord Belzeb from the 5th dimension, who's working for the Jakku Empire with his henchman Taida and this fairy that lives in his ribcage. He's gonna use these things called the Akudama, these little black orb things that can change shape and do evil stuff to take over Earth. And he's gonna shoot a missile full of them when Raijin Oh shows up. He is the defender of Earth and will not allow harm to come to it. Raijin Oh grabs that missile, but Belzeb, he uses like these 5th dimension powers. He punches into a hole and then gets a big hand. And then it hits Raijin Oh and it breaks the missile, and all the Akudama start falling down in the earth and Raijin Oh as well. Cut to this 5th grade classroom full of little 5th graders, just kids. The teacher tells everyone that they failed their assignment except for 2 of the kids. Y'all need to start learning better. And homie comes up, his name's Jin. And he says, how did I fail? I copied one of those kids. That's funny to me. Well, Raijin Oh was crashing right into that school, and all the kids, they die. Nah, they don't. Time stops as he's crashing into it. And then Eldaron, the person who pilots Raijin Oh, comes out, and he tells them that he needs to rest and that he's passing Raijin Oh onto them, and it's up to them to defend the Earth against the evil Jakku Empire. What exactly does that mean? You may be wondering. Are they all like Captain Planet now? Each of them has their own power? Well, you don't have to wonder, because I'm gonna tell you. They each get a coin that slides into their desk, and their whole classroom turns into a headquarters, while while 3 of them go out to pilot the mechs, while the rest of them stay back and do all the techie parts on the computers, radars and stuff. And in this classroom, we have Jin, Asuka, Koji, Maria, Kirara, Akira, Reiko, Miki, Hiroshi, Ori, Yoko, Yoshiaka, Toki, Hironori, Daisuke, Yu, and Aiko. And their teacher, he's cool. So every episode is Belzeb coming down with Taida, using the Akudama to cause problems. He can turn them into things that humans dislike. He sees that humans don't like smog, so he creates a giant car that puts out evil exhaust. And then it's up to our 5th grade heroes to get into action. The whole school be transforming whenever they do. Oh man, it's pretty cool. This is every Power Ranger daydream I had in elementary school growing up. I mean, shit, high school too. I'm damn like, who am I fooling? I think I was trying to be a Power Ranger yesterday. And the class is called the Earth Defense class. At first, the kids are terrible at defeating Akudama, but then they all work together to learn the controls, form raijin, and defeat the Akudama while being 5th graders. Every time they beat a monster the first time, Belzeb brings out his ribcage fairy and it gives it a stronger phase too. There's an episode where the government shows up to the class to get raijin because it's a super weapon and the Earth is under attack from aliens. The general says, "You're just kids, you shouldn't fight," which is true, but it won't operate for anyone but the kids. It was still neat to see some sense of reality, because that doesn't really happen in some of these shows. They're like, oh, these kids got superpowers, whatever, just let them do it. Or in like other shows, they're like, oh, only teenagers can operate robots for some reason. The music that plays when they summon raijin is so smooth. The OST to this show is just sick. Look at how the principal answers the phone. One of the other classes at their school starts talking trash to our guys because they have a better grade point average. They're like, yeah, we make A's and you guys make B. Dog, I would let them talk all day. I wouldn't care. I get to pilot giant robot against monsters. Well, they argue and have a baseball game about it. And the monster in that episode, as you may have guessed, since it's about baseball, is a syringe. Whenever it injects things, it makes them explode, which is honestly a crazy ability. So all you got to do is touch it once and it explodes? It's terrifying. Anyways, it shows up during the baseball game and they got to fight it. They beat it. Belzeb eventually gets a power from his boss that makes him a ninja. And in the same episode, the bad guys make a fake raijin and do bad things to frame the kids. Like they steal a warehouse full of candy. And I mean, yeah, that's what 5th graders would do. And for some reason, the adults fall for it, even though it's not the same colors. They blow it up at the end of the episode. There's an episode where they're losing, and one of the kids in the classroom, he's like looking through the manuals and stuff and the computers, and he finds that they have an entire mech that they're not using. A dragon mech, and they summon it from headquarters and they can pilot it remotely and send it into the fight. I thought that was awesome, like, because it gave the kids in the classroom something more to do than look at screens and just kind of yell encouragement. 22 episodes in, no less. This girl spilled milk on herself and this mutt has to lap it up. Look at this kid reading Log Out magazine. That's a cool title for a magazine. This pencil monster makes graffiti come to life. Yo, like Chalk Zone or Doodle Bob or something. Yo, that's pretty cool. We get Wacky Frog and Silly Airplane. One time they're just washing one of the mechs. I like little details like that. At the end of the show, Belzeb uses his pyramid to try to drag the whole city into the Jakku dimension. So they form Super God raijin, which combines with the Dragon Mech and then raijin, and they go to destroy it. But Belzeb has a Super Satan Jakku mech now, and they have a big fight. And our heroes are losing, but they manage to tackle Satan Jakku into the ground. But they run out of energy and they lose their transformation. And they try to beat him while separated, but they get picked apart. It looks like it's over, but they don't give up, and they grab Jakku Satan's own sword and beat him. Whoa! Then the Jakku Emperor Warusa shows up and laser beams them, and they were already almost done, so he's beating them with ease. It's pretty cool watching the kids in the room be all, oh, this one's power is at 0. Oh, this one has a little bit left in the tank. Let's see if we can divert energy to this over here. I'll see what I can do. They're 5th graders, man. I want their life so bad. Warusa's about to destroy our heroes when Belzeb says, wait, master, let me finish them off. One of those situations. And this makes Warusa angry. He says, what did you just say to me? You had 50 episodes to do. I'm gonna kill you. So he starts up killing Belzeb. And that gives our guys time to think of a plan. And Taida starts to cry. So in an earlier episode, Taida, he started hanging out with humanity and just enjoying Earth. He thinks this place is cool. He became friends with Jin's parents, but he still works for Belzeb, so he still fights against our heroes. He starts crying. He's like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. And then that makes Belzeb come around. He's looking at him like, man, what have we been fighting for this whole time? My boss, I've been doing everything he says, and he's about to kill me. Nah, so he turns on Urusa, but he's still just getting beat up. Then some of the headquarters kids get in a helicopter and they get to the mechs to repair them. And the army shows up and starts shooting rockets to distract Urusa. They repair the dragon mech and they start it, but it won't. What? We did it. But then they all cry and beg for it to work. And then it starts working. And it absorbs energy. It can just do that. And it powers up all the other mechs. And our heroes can fight again. They start to fight with Urusa, but he's still too strong. He grabs them and bites into them. But Belzeb, he joins the fight and he blasts Warusa in both his eyes. And that gives Raijin the chance to cut Warusa in half. It's always one hit. The bad guy's always winning until we just get that one hit. Then the pyramid drops the city back to the ground and the day is saved. But Belzeb isn't done yet. It's not about conquering Earth anymore. This is about his pride as a Saiyan warrior. So him and Raijin fight. And it's pretty sad, man. The kids don't want to, but they start putting the hurting on him, man. He stands his O even though he's badly damaged. He got beat by Raijin and beat by Warusa. And then they got to recharge, but he didn't get the recharge. And then he pushes them into this pyramid. And then he rushes them and makes them have these weird dreams where Raijin never existed. They're mean dreams. These dreams are all mean. But through the power of love and friendship, they break free. And get back to the fight. When they come back, Belzeb is crying so hard, his mech is crying. He saw the visions they saw when they was in the dream, and he doesn't have friends. And seeing friendship really got to him, man. And they extend a hand to him, say they'll be his friends. Yo, that touches his heart. And he decides to go back to the 5th dimension. But then they gotta escape the pyramid before it explodes. What? Yo, you just you could have took that with you. You just, deuces. Oh, this thing's about this. Anyways, but they make it out, proving once and for all that they are truly matchless Raijin. And that's where it ends. Yo, this show was cool. It was fun. It's a great show for children. I give it, every time that Taida and Belzeb were coming to Earth from their space pyramid, they show up in the coolest ways. Like they just come out of cracks in the walls or just like street lamps. I'll play a few of those right now. Out of 10. Up next, releasing April 4th, 1991, Janken. This is 51 episodes and I can only find 10 episodes and they're all unsubbed. I'm gonna look at the screen and give it my best guess. This here is Janken. Janken is Japanese for rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors is a game of chance that you play with one other person. You each start with a closed fist, then throw out one of 3 shapes. A flat hand is for paper, 2 fingers out is for scissors, and a fist is for rock. You each throw out an option after deciding if you go on 3 or shoot. Paper beats rock, rock beats scissors, and scissors beats paper. If you both throw out the same option, then the result is a draw and you play again. It's typically played 2 out of 3, the winner getting to talk mad shit. Janken is a little superhero whose parents live in space, but he lives on this planet where the inhabitants are all things like a tea kettle and whatnot. He's a superhero that solves problems with rock, paper, scissors. He uses the paper ability to make a big magic hand that grabs things. You get it? Stuff like that. Just playing RPS with people will bring good energy. It makes this energy ball between them and this kid gets happy. There's this evil villain that does nuisance stuff that Janken has to stop. He makes a robot that will paint people when they lose at RPS. Well, in order to beat this guy, Janken uses this wand to summon the energy of every rock, paper, scissors game around the world and put a bubble around them, and then he wins at a game of RPS. Yo, it sounds wacky, right? Because it is. This is a wacky little kid show. Spirit bomb energy off of a rock, paper, scissors. Look at this poor little tomato. One episode, straight up, a Saiyan ball lands on their planet and a baseball dude comes out and they gotta beat him at baseball. The bad guy uses this little swirlies, and when he puts them on people, they turn evil. So even though the baseball guy was nice, now he's mean. Every episode is the gang having a good time and then the bad guy coming in trying to ruin the day. But Janken and his friends always come through in the end. Look at this old school Beyblade. That's about it. Chill little show. I give it, the people here are wacky. Either their whole body is a trash can or their head is a bell pepper. Out of 10. Up next, releasing April 5th, 1991, Capricorn. This is 47 minutes based on a 5-volume manga. We open up on the planet Slaflees, where these anime furry people live. Their kingdom is poor right now, but their king is eating it up good. Look at him go. That's not how you grab cake. They recently started being able to see this planet in their sky. For us, that's Earth, but they call it Capricorn. Dr. Garrity here comes up to the king and says that if it starts to shine, bad things are gonna happen. Well, Zolba, this evil cat guy, he doesn't want Garrity spreading that info. goes, so he throws him in prison. King don't listen to this fool. Well, then we meet our hero Taku. He gets isekai to this planet from Earth, and he sees this girl bathing naked in a lake. Then he gets knocked out and brought to these mouse people, Jiru and Nan. The first thing he brings up to these mice people on a planet he just woke up on. I saw this naked girl with wings earlier, and she had a tail earlier. You know who that was? They said, oh, it must have been a yappy, which I googled to make sure isn't a slur, and it's not. A yappy is a young Asian professional or someone who talks too much. In this show, it's a dragon person. Cut to that yappy being chased by bad guys. Then Capricorn starts changing colors in the sky. Seems like Zolba's doing some kind of evil science to rule over Earth and Slaflees. Our heroes get told that Garrity's in prison and he's the mice people's granddad, so they're gonna go break him out, Jiro and Taku, since he's the only one that even knows what's going on, and they'll need him to save the day. They break in but get chased by guards until they run into that yappy from earlier. She's fighting off some of them herself. She makes a break for it and they follow her out, breaking Gar out of the prison. And the yappy's name is Mona. She finds this room with a bunch of her peoples in tubes. Zolba's creating a bunch of these dragon people to make her his own personal army. Then he sets them loose and they beat her up. Well, the guys show up and they start running. Taku finds a bunch of levers and pulls them all, and the place just starts flooding and they manage to get out of there while getting shot at. And then Zolba takes over the government. Our heroes land in this valley, but Gar's been shot, and he tells them that Zolba wants to use Mugen Anka, a bridge that will link the two worlds but also cause a lot of destruction. Then he passes from his injuries. Taku and Mona talk in the moonlight, and she could smell her people on him, so she takes him to this ancient rock. Her people pass down this legend that a black dragon lives in that rock, and then the rock shines, and Taku walks to it instinctively, and after a big flash, Taku becomes a dragon. He is the protector of Capricorn, the biggest yappy of them all. And I'm talking, like, she's a dragon person, she's got a tail. He's just a huge dragon. And our heroes come up with a plan. They're going to destroy the Mugen Anka, and the shockwave should destroy the rest of the enemy fleet. Taku and Manon are supposed to distract the main army while they go do that. So they set that into motion. Taku and Manon fight the army, and the bad guys send out the clone dragons, and they start shooting fire at Manon, and she yells out for help, but Taku isn't going to make it. It looks like it's all over when she starts to glow. Then this big ancient dragon comes out of her, made of fire, and it tells the clones that he is the yappy leader, and they're all supposed to protect this place, not destroy it. They come to their senses and start destroying the enemy army. And then the bad guys start the Mugen Anka, and Manon goes to help out the sabotage team. She starts getting wrecked. She's just getting beat everywhere she goes. Then Dragon Taku goes to help her, busts into the Mugen Anka, starts destroying everything, setting off a huge explosion and destroying most of the armies. Now the earth is starting to disappear from the sky, so Taku has to leave. Manon gives him a smooch, and they hold hands until he disappears. Manon hopes to see him again one day, and that's where it ends. You think he's a dragon back on Earth? Probably, probably went back to being a human, probably not a dragon. That'd be cool if he went back to Earth, he's just a big old dragon. I give it, the B team didn't do anything. They didn't even get inside this base. By the time our heroes go to help out, they're still crawling on the outside trying to figure out how to get in. Out of 10. Up next, releasing April 8th, 1991, Armored Police Metal Jack. This one's 37 episodes, and we're about to go on a ride. Okay, this show can be all over the place, so stay with me, please. I know it's gonna feel like I'm a scatterbrain the way I'm giving it to you the best way I can. I'm just a girl. Jack on is the opening song, there. And the year's 2015. Ken here works for the police and gets an assignment to protect young Jun here, who is the son of the chairman of the Zaizen Group, one of those anime corporations that is super rich and pretty much runs the whole world. They're holding a meeting where the chairman announces his son Jun as his successor, and this group tries to assassinate him. They send this big robot and start shooting up the place, but Ken shoots the robot and saves Jun, but the robot ain't done and goes for the kill, so Ryo and Go save Ken and Jun. Ryo is an F1 racer who is here just because he's famous, and Go is this wrestler who is here for the same reasons. Ryo, Ken, and Go are rushed to a secret facility where their lives are saved. You see, Dr. Daigo here has created the Metal Jacks, these mech armors that people can wear to fight crime. Watching the three of them throw their lives on the line for Jun made him decide to save their lives by making them cyborgs and attaching them to the Metal Jack. Ken is Metal Jack Red, Ryo is Metal Jack Silver, and Go is Metal Jack Blue. Now they fight against the Evil ID, this villainous group who are led by the evil Evil Lord Megadeth with his henchmen Troidal and Gurlia. Those are the henchiest of henchmen names. I'm Troidal, yes! For the first few episodes, ID works in the background selling evil schemes to bad guys who use them, which is pretty cool. That's a cool setup for a story. But after doing that for a little bit, they reveal themselves to the world and say that they're gonna do more crimes and take down Metal Jack. So I've been here before with shows like this. Seems like a Monster of the Week show. The Metal Jacks go out and beat up the latest bad guy every episode, and this show is just trying to sell toys. Well, the train is about to go off the rails. And as we all know, a train needs rails. So Jun's father died in that attack, but he survived and he needs surgery and he has very rare blood. He was gonna get some, but it got blown up. Luckily, Ken has the same blood, but cyborgs need blood more than regular people. So when he gives Jun the blood, he gets told that he's gotta take it easy for a bit. So Jun is going into surgery and Ken gives him a bullet out of his gun. He said, yeah, give it back when you get out of surgery, kid. Symbolic, but maybe a little weird, I don't know. This starts the bond between Ken and Jun. They get real close. Ken tells Jun that he's a little brother to him, that even if they aren't related, they're brothers. And they start spending a lot of time together. Ken also has a little sister who lives with him, and her and Jun have little kid crushes on each other. Aw, it's a little real happy family here, okay? Then Ken's backstory. His father found a woman dying on a bridge one day, and she had a baby. That baby was Ken. So his father took that baby in and raised the boy as his own. And when Ken was a kid, this dude broke into his house, and his dad pulled a gun on the bad guy, but the bad guy put a gun to his baby sister's head, and his dad couldn't pull the trigger, and the bad guy shot his father. And the bad guy kept talking mess too, but Ken picked his dad's gun up and shot the bad guy in the hand. Then the cop showed up and arrested him. His father died a week later in the hospital. That guy who killed his dad comes back and does some robo-terrorism, and then Ken shoots his hand again, yo. After that, Ken pours one out on his father's grave for the homies that aren't here with us today. When the Metal Jacks put on their suits, they say, and when they take the suits off, what you think he says, huh? What does he say? Jack on to put it on, but to remove the suit? Jack out! Jack out. They say jack out. It's close though. It's real close. The Metal Jack guys, they put on a Metal Jack suit and then they can level up again and put on like a bigger, more Gundam-ish suit. And the bad guys, ID, that one of their plans is nuts. Check it out. They notice that when Metal Jack combines with their things, they get stronger. So the plan is to not let them combine. I know these guys are a step above. They repeat ideas too. They managed to turn the Metal Jack's robot stuff against them more than once. I love when bad guys repeat ideas. Like, look, you got close that first time. Why completely scrap it? Workshop it. Also, when the bad guys are gonna kill someone, they always pull out this weird claw thing first. And people die in this show. It's for a kid's show where they're selling kids' toys to children. People die. Eventually, we meet Shadow, another Metal Jack from years ago. He was experimented on and lost a lot of his memory. And he knows that he hates Gilia, though, one of the scientists that did this to him, and one of Megadeth's henchmen. In one episode, Ken dies protecting Shadow when ID manages to turn their own weapons against them for the second time. But you see, they're gonna bring Ken back to life. Because as we all know, if a cyborg dies, you have a 5-hour window to bring them back to life. I don't even know why I'm mentioning that, because we all knew that. As Shadow, Blue, and Silver are giving it their all while Red's gone. And then he comes back as Hyper Red. They give him an upgrade and he saves the day. So Jun gets healthy and starts running the Zaizan group since his dad's dead. He has an assistant named Kiritani who helps him out. Being a boss means that he doesn't get to spend as much time with Ken and Sayuri though. They all miss each other. And he learns that the Zaizan group had a secret section of the company that did its dirty work for them. They defected and formed the criminal group ID. What? It doesn't end there. When Jun was even younger than how young he is now, he managed to make some bioroids, a cybernetic or fully biological organism created by artificial means. I looked that up. So the bioroids he made got loose, and one of them is Megadeth. So he confronts Megadeth to solve the problem he started. He gets into the ID base easily with Kiritani because Kiritani is actually Gilia. After they talk for a little bit, Jun shoots Megadeth with a special bullet that kills bioroids. Little man was ready to kill this fool, but it doesn't work. Megadeth was ready for this, and then he summons his own mech that he named Death Megadeth. It shoots laser beams out of its mouth and kills so many people, and Death Megadeth seems unstoppable. Metal Jack and the army, they keep trying, but they fail. So Daigo tells the Metal Jack crew that they can do a team-up attack that's super powerful, but it might destroy Ken. They do it anyway. And they save the day. With Megadeth dead, Kiritani wants Jun to take over the ID group and the Zaizen Corps and truly rule over all of humanity. So while Jun's contemplating this, he learns that he was made in a lab by his father to be a super genius and that he isn't the first. He's actually a clone of a failed experiment. Yo, when he learns that he's a clone, he yells hard. All of this is a lot for a little boy, so he goes to his big brother Ken. Jun doesn't tell him about the evil ID stuff, but he tells him that he's a clone of stuff, and then Ken tells Jun that he's Metal Jack Red. What? Forgot to tell you, the Metal Jack identities are secret. Ken says, hey Jun, if you don't want to do that stuff, it's cool. You can live with me and Sayuri. You'll always be my little brother, even if we aren't related. I'll always be there for you. It's very touching. Jun agrees. He's like, yeah, I'm just gonna live with you, man. So Jun goes to tell Kiritani that he's not gonna do it. And when Kiritani hears this, he has the normal reaction of erasing Jun's memories of Ken. And now Jun is evil. And he runs a Neo ID. And he starts doing evil things. And there are 7 episodes left. The other characters got stuff going on too. Ryo, he's an F1 driver. His silver jack is really fast. Well, he ends up stopping these really fast criminals. And they're a family. And he kills one of them while stopping them. They get revenge and kill one of his closest friends. Damn, man. I don't think death makes a show better, but in a show like this, it makes the stakes feel real. And he ends up killing all of them. This is Eriko. I haven't mentioned her yet. She's a cop too, and is in pretty much every episode. She's Ken's partner, and whenever he disappears to go be Metal Jack, she's all, where is he? She cries when she thinks he dies. She's cool with his little sister Sayuri. They're very close. She ends up in a relationship with Go. I was like, what, curveball? Yo, huh? I mean, that's cool. I just wasn't expecting it. She's supposed to get with Ken, but she don't. That's neat. We learn that Ken is also a clone made by the Zaizen group. He was the failure before Jun, and when they figured out he was a failure, they were gonna kill the baby. But the wife of the chairman didn't want to. She loved him, so she ran away and collapsed on that bridge where Ken's adopted father found him. Ken and Jun are nearly the same person since they're made of the same clone stuff. And Daigo tells him this. He tells Ken, that combined with him being a cyborg and how hard he's always going when he's in these fights means that if he keeps jacking on, he's gonna die. This devastates him. Jun starts his evil plan. He starts by taking Tokyo out of the ground to make it his capital, Millennium City. This bad guy's all got one gimmick. Let's lift the city out of the ground and do something with it. Then he's going to melt Antarctica and flood the world, killing most of the population and then ruling over what's left. He's gonna use a big sky laser to do this. After lots of big fight time, they keep fighting all the things that Jun brings out. They fight Troidel a few times. I hate Troidel. And we learn more of Shadow's story. The gang shows up at Jun's crazy base where he's hooked up to this pyramid thing. And we got Ken, Sayuri, Ryo, Go, and Shadow. And Ken can't get through to Jun. He keeps trying, but he won't listen. He's gonna destroy the world. So he's gotta shoot him. And we get a bunch of those back and forth cuts. Ken, Jun, the group, Satellite, Ken, Satellite, Ken, Jun, Satellite, Ken, Jun, evil smirks, Satellite, Jun, Satellite, Ken, Jun, Sayuri! Sayuri gets in the way, and he hits her arm a little bit, and seeing Sayuri cry and hearing her heartwarming speech brings back Jun's memories. What? He stops trying to kill everyone, but Troidel and Chlora, this other bad guy, use Jun's body and are gonna complete the plan to kill off humanity. The bad guys are winning, and it looks like it's all over, but Jun manages to control the computer long enough to activate the self-destruct, and our heroes get out, but Jun, he dies along with the rest of the bad guys, and the good guys look out over the destruction. But there's one more episode. It turns out Jun survived. Kiritani managed to save him, and Ken had to go have cyborg surgery since he kept trying so hard. He kept jacking on. Kiritani shows up to Sayuri and asks for her help to get Jun out of town before the cops get him, and she helps him out. Look, when Jun's waiting on this bridge, yo, he gets that damn look in his eyes. And then Sayuri shows up, and Ken followed her, but Troidel also shows up. And finally, after Troidel getting away over and over during the fight, Ken kills Troidel. Hated Troidel. They get to the meeting spot where Sayuri told Kiritani to bring Jun, but they brought all the cops there and they ambush him. And they tell him the jig is up, turn yourself in. They got Jun, we're not gonna arrest him, get out, you're done, you're coming in. He walks up to Ken and hands him a disc with all the evidence and info he'll need. Then he decides he doesn't want to go to jail, so he decides by cop. Cut to weeks later where it's a big happy ending. Woo! That was a ride, wasn't it? This show is way more complicated than it appears. It's an okay show. I give it, Sayuri is in love with Jun, right? Who is a clone that's the same clone as her brother. Well, her and her brother aren't really related though, so she she loves her step clone? Out of 10. Up next, releasing April 12th, 1991, Okama Report. This is 3 45-minute episodes, and this is Shinya. He's out drinking with his friends one night when one of his friends says, "Man, you are pretty. You would look hot with some makeup on. Hey, Keiko, put some makeup on this man." So Shinya lets her. Then his homie goes, Hey, waiter, y'all got a girl's wig lying around? We want to put it on our friend here. And this is really starting to seem staged, right? Why would a restaurant have a wig lying around? Now listen to me. If you chilling with the homies and they're like, "Hey man, let's get you real pretty," that's a red flag. That's all I'm saying. Everyone loses it though. Whoa, you're such a hot girl. Oh my God. He forgets about it the next day because they got real drunk. And when his friend shows him a picture of him, he's like, "Whoa, she's hot. You gotta introduce me to this girl that you just carry a Polaroid around of." Friend says, "Yeah, I'll introduce you." His friend takes him to a cross-dressing bar called Maurice's, and he has this cross-dresser cross-dress him up and then shows him in the mirror that he is the girl. So Shinya decides to get a job here since he makes such a pretty woman. Now we're brother ladies.
I'm a lady. Now we're brother ladies.
So he is Shinya and his cross-dressing persona is Catherine. When he does things as Shinya, I'll say Shinya. When he does things as Catherine, I'll say Catherine. But they're the same person, don't get confused. He's gonna save up money while working here and look for his true love. He's after a girl that looks like his girl version. And whoa, this girl comes in that looks just like him, but with black hair. And her name is Miki. And they start being friends. They start hanging out and she wants some relationship advice, which breaks his heart a bit because he's after her, but they still have fun. So Miki has a boyfriend and she's going to sleep with him that night at a hotel. Catherine finds the room he's staying at and goes in there, knocks him out, makes it look like he cheated on Miki and then dips. And it works. Miki thinks she was cheated on. Well, Miki and Shinya go to the same college and they meet and he asks her out. Always shoot your shot. They go on a date and have a great time. At the end, she tells him about her boyfriend cheating on her and she really likes Shinya. She wants him to meet her best friend Catherine. But he's Catherine. How's he gonna be two people when he's only one person? The wacky hijinks are only going up from here, I'm telling you. Tauru, who also works at the bar, loves Catherine, and when he sees that Catherine loves Miki, he wants to ruin their relationship. Some things carry over from his work too, like he lights his friend's cigarette. As Catherine, he can ask how things are going with her new boyfriend Shinya, which is pretty cool, right? Like, hey, let me get some inside deets. He's always got a leg up. Well, one day at the bar, they all plan a beach trip, and Tauru says, "Yo, Miki, you should bring your boyfriend, Shinya." Miki think that's a great idea. She don't know though. She don't know though. Oh, here come the oopsies. Shinya has to play the sitcom game and is all, "Oh, I'm busy. You should hang out with Catherine. Oh, where's Catherine? I want you to meet her. Oh, she's busy." Oh, it's a big old silly beach trip. They have a good time. They get back home and one of Shinya's old friends starts crashing at his place. And while walking around town, he meets Miki and he falls in love with her and Catherine. What? But then he learns that Catherine's a crossdresser. Well, his friend is starting to steal Miki away because he's acting like a real man, and Shinya he's been slacking a little bit. But Tauru steps in when he sees how sad Catherine is getting and turns that friend into liking cross-dressing and not Miki. And things seem to get better between Okama and Miki, and that's where the show ends. I give it this dance and noise that homie makes. I probably rewatched it like 10 times. Out of 10. Up next, releasing April 12th, 1991, High School Mystery Gakuen Nanafushigi. This one is 41 episodes and I can only find 2, so here we go. The first episode, this girl jumps off a roof to take herself out at school, and then our main character, Mizuki, she starts seeing like kind of some ghostly stuff, and then everybody else in class starts seeing some ghostly stuff. And that girl, her ghost, writes an M on the board, so everybody's like, "Oh man, maybe she took herself out because of somebody with the name M or something." Well, we figured out that one of the girls at school was bullying her, and that's why she did it, and then she was out to get revenge against that girl as a ghost. And man, she comes up to that girl and says, "All you gotta do is apologize in front of everybody tomorrow." And the girl who bullied her is like, "Nah." So then she takes that girl out. The two main girls, Mizuki and Meiko, they can both see all this supernatural stuff. So then the show becomes them seeing the supernatural stuff around school and then kind of trying to solve it. So in episode 2, we got some haunted stairs that make people fall. They get stronger the more the people believe in the ghost of the stairs. And they try to bring an exorcist to the school. One of the teachers is like, "Nah, get that exorcist out of here. Look, these stairs ain't crazy. And then he goes up there and then they make him fall. Yeah, that one just kind of, I don't know if that story continues in episode 3 or something, but that one just kind of ends where they're just like, man, them stairs are scary. And that's it. That was the show. I'm really curious what else happens in this show, because in the opening song, there's this girl tied to a rock and the main character is going to extend her hand to help her. What does this show evolve into? Because you know how some of these shows start like, oh, it's just a ghost school mystery show, and then they end up in hell trying to save Lucifer because he's really the good guy. Out of 10. Up next, releasing April 12th, 1991, Shizukanaru Dan, Yakuza side story. This is one 45-minute episode that is not subbed, so let me tell you what I think happens. It opens up with a hit on a Yakuza boss. Dude gets whacked, and this is Shizuya. That Yakuza boss was his father, and now he's the head of the Yakuza group, but he's also an underwear designer / salesman. They have a ceremony for making him boss, and he's a bit of a nice pushover a lot of the time. He goes out drinking with his co-workers who bully him, and then he gets left with the bill. And these dudes who own the bar, they're holding him there until he can pay, but he calls his gang, and the whole gang shows up to beat up these guys. Yo, one time he lets one of his co-workers smack him, but then that night while he's at a club, he's in full gangster mode, and he gets back at one of the guys. He's like that, so while he's doing his normal life stuff, he's just a super nice chill dude, but as soon as he hits that switch, he's full gangster, beats up everybody. He has a meeting with another gang leader who doesn't like how he's taking things so chill, and that guy tries to sword him, which usually hits him with his bottle. Don't mess with him. He meets with some other gang, maybe these are the guys who killed his dad, I don't know who they are. He tries to settle things peacefully, he bows and degrades himself, man. But when that doesn't work and they're gonna get him, he goes scary mode and beats up the whole gang. He picks this dude's head up just to chop him in the neck better. The fight scene here is pretty good. By the time his crew shows up, all the dudes are beat, and he's back at work chilling with his co-workers, and it ends. Chill little show. I give it, these panties got a little zipper. Out of 10. Up next, releasing April 19th, 1991, The Secret Garden. This is 39 episodes, and I found the whole show, but only the first episode was subbed, so I'll do my best. It's based on the book with the same name by Francis Hodgson Burnett that was published in 1911. All these 90s animes that are based on old books I never knew. And this is Mary. Both her parents died from an illness on the same night, and now she's a little orphan. Other kids bully her for having dead parents. So her uncle becomes her guardian, and she has to move to this huge dreary mansion, Misselthwaite Manor. There's a bunch of servants that live at the house. Early on, they make her get rid of her cat, Patty. It was the only thing she had left after her parents died, man, and they start being pretty strict with her, so she gets real angry and fussy all the time, which is understandable. She's just a kid with freshly dead parents. Well, this boy, he sneaks her cat back to her, and his name is Dickon, and that starts their little friendship. That was episode 1. The rest is unsubbed, but I read a summary of the book, so I'll combine that knowledge with the visuals, and we'll figure this out. She starts walking around the manor, and there's this red bird that starts calling to her and leads her to this secret garden. This garden is where her aunt died 10 years ago, and that's why her uncle's such a grumpy pants. He's been all sad since his wife died. Then later, the same bird leads her to this buried key, and that goes to the door that leads into the secret garden, and inside it's all run down and creepy. She tells Dickon about it, and they start to tend the garden together. There's this episode, so this guy is falling off the roof, and to help him, the kids climb a ladder, tie a rope to Patty, the cat. Then Patty wraps the rope around the chimney, ties it around the guy, then Dickon lets loose a squirrel that bites off some of the rope so the guy can rappel down the building, which is very believable. I had a cat that did something like that one time. They decided to let the cat stay at Misselthwaite Manor after that. Her uncle gets back from his trip, and she finally gets to meet him, and he's all fired up and mean. Yeah, dog. When he shows up, everybody's got to meet up outside, and when he starts going around the house, the line of people behind him, it's like 20 people that work here. Mary and uncle have a little chit chat, and he's all grumpy, meanie beanie. He rings his bell hard, and he points at her hard. One episode, she spends the night at Dickon's family home and learns what it's like to be a fucking peasant. Yo, Dickon drew a bird. One night, Mary hears some noises, and she follows them all the way to this room that's hidden away, and that's when she finds Colin, her cousin. He's real sickly and he can't walk, so he's kept in this secret, far-off room for people who disappoint her uncle. Mary visits him more often after that, and she teaches him how to read. He can be a real prick, but he's been bedridden his whole life and catered to, so slowly she makes him nice. They make Colin a little wheelchair so they can show him how outside is. Sometimes it's all bugs and flowers and stuff outside, Colin. Well, they get chased by the servants because Colin ain't supposed to be outside, and the wheelchair loses a wheel, making it mostly a chair, and they slide down a hill, and Colin has a bunch of fun, but he gets sick, and she's not allowed to see him because she'd be wild. So Mary sends a squirrel with a letter to Colin. Remember, she teaches him how to read so he can write back. Yo, if they hadn't chased them, then everything would have turned out okay. I'm just saying. Eventually, Mary and Deka take Colin to the secret garden, and they all start hanging out there every day, restoring it, while Colin watches. He really wants to help. Colin starts getting jealous of Deka because Deka can walk. Well, Colin figures out that walking doesn't make you a real boy. It's what you got inside that counts. He also starts some rehab so he can walk again. When his papa gets home from a trip, he comes outside to greet him for the first time in years. But when his dad sees him, all he can see is his dead wife, so he ignores him. There's this guy with a scar on his cheek. He ends up being a bad guy. I think he's gonna take the manor away from the uncle. In the past, him and the uncle had some kind of deal, but it fell through, and I guess he screwed over the guy with the scar on his cheek. It's hard to tell since I don't speak Japanese, and I'm not about to read this whole book. Uncle's about to end it. But thinking of his dead wife, it changes his mind. And then the guy with the scar on his cheek shows up and they talk it out. It seems that the uncle blamed him and this other woman for his wife's death. And now they clear up the misunderstanding and he sees the error of his ways. Then the adults head over to the secret garden and they hear the kids inside. When the uncle opens the door, he sees the garden all beautiful. He's amazed. And Colin, he stands up on his own two legs and walks over to his father. A Christmas miracle. They embrace. And through the power of love and friendship, the scar-faced man doesn't do the bad thing he was going to do, and everyone's happy. That's where it ends. I give it the time that Patty got turned. Look at that cat, man. She is messed up. I've been there. Out of 10. Up next, releasing April 21st, 1991, Delinquent Detective, or Sukeban Deka. This is two 45-minute episodes. There's a channel, Kenny Lauderdale, who goes deeper on the lore of the Sukeban genre and covers this show too. I recommend his channel. It's sick. And if you just want to learn more about the show, go check that video out. I did it. And this is Saki, a high school girl who's locked up. They say they'll let her out if she agrees to work for the cops and go back to her old school and figure out all the crimes there, man. Some crimes. She says nah, but if she doesn't do it, they'll execute her mother, who's also locked up. So she agrees. Jin here is gonna be her handler, and he gives her a bulletproof yo-yo that has a special badge in it that proves she's a special cop. Her job is to check out the Mizuchi sisters and a bus crash that happened where a couple of buses full of kids were filled with gas and then drove off a cliff, killing everyone inside. All at Takonoha High School. It's a pretty prestigious school. Yo, listen to this jam. I wish that music played when I went on walks, man. My life would be better. Yo, look at this assistant principal. He's creepy as AF. I was convinced he was gonna be the villain just looking at him. I judged this book cover hard. At Takonoha High, we meet the Mizuchi sisters. Emi, who's a good painter, Ayumi, who has goons and sells drugs, and Reimi, who's all around evil as fuck. Saki comes back to school and everyone flips out. One of Saki's friends screwed up and she took the blame for it. That's all we hear about why she was locked up. And this newer student, Sanpei, he falls in love with Saki on the spot and starts following her around. Also the other night, there was this girl who was about to get jumped by these thugs and Saki saved her. And she goes to their school, so they become friends. Well, the Mizuchi sisters, they hear about Saki, but they weren't here the last time the Saki was going to school here. So Ayumi sends her goons after her. 4 gods. And they go to fight her. Yo, this dub's funny.
Hi guys, are those nuts for me?
She can tell she's being watched during this fight, so she doesn't go all out and she lets them beat her up. But she doesn't fool Reimi. She could tell that Saki threw that fight. We learned that the Mizuchi sisters' father, Gozo, is a criminal that helps them with their criminal stuff, bribing judges and parents who want to get their kids into that prestigious school, Takonoha. After class, Saki and Sanpei go to Junko's place and see how good of an artist she is. She's crazy good. And they learn about each other's lives and just start becoming friends. Then that night, Saki and Sanpei access the school's modem and hope no one traces the call.
I need access to a modem, but I can't tell you why. If someone traces this call, they'll know who we are.
And they get all the info on the Mizuchi sisters they can find. Amy shows up at Junko's place because she knows that Junko's a good painter and she sees that painting and that it's so much better than hers, but Amy really wants to win the competition. She doesn't just steal the painting, she gets Junko kidnapped. The next day, Saki starts asking around about the Mizuchis. She starts interrogating some punks. She yo-yos first and asks questions later. While doing this, she disrupts Ayumi's drug trade. And when Saki and Sanpei go to Junko's place the next day, they knock on her door and then get framed for kidnapping her. And they get locked up. Meanwhile, Junko is being drugged and tortured. While Saki's locked up, Amy enters Junko's painting in a competition and wins. Reimi is brainwashing students using computers and he gives them all that damn look in their eyes. Yo, Saki and Sanpei are having a conversation.
I wonder what they're gonna do to us. I'm worried about Junko too.
Don't worry. I think that.
What?
Bro, let her talk. Saki is in jail for over a week before she uses her badge to get out of jail. She says she let herself stay caught to try and gather info, but yo, she's just in a cell at the end of a hallway with homeboy. What intel is she gathering? It's too late when she gets out. They find Junko dead and dumped like a dog on the train tracks. Like a dog. Saki wants some murder revenge, but Jin gives her some handcuffs to remind her that her job is to arrest them, not kill them. Saki shows up at school and beats up the 4 devils quick, and she chokes on Yumi for a little bit. Then she tells everyone that she's in charge now. And then Yumi goes home to ask her sister for help. And Raimi says, yo, man, I know what to help you handle that Saki problem. This fucking gun. She says, oh yeah, I forgot about guns. Thanks, I'll totally use that. Saki goes to the vice principal and gets him on her side to take down the Mizuchis. So he points at a map and makes some noises. And we get a montage of Saki beating up bad guys that are working for the Mizuchis. Then Ayumi ambushes them and is gonna shoot Saki and Sanpei, but the gun was rigged and it backfires. It was a trap that Raimi set so she could steal all of Ayumi's money. Then later, the cops and Saki bust into an art exhibition and arrest Gozo and Emi for art theft and other crimes. But Gozo pulls out a gun on Saki, and Saki's genuine fear when she sees Gozo pull out that gun. Me too, but Jin stops them. Then while they're arresting Gozo and Emi, this woman shoots both of them, then herself. She was sent by Raimi to do that in case this happened. Saki rides Ayumi's motorbike to Raimi's house and has to beat up a bunch of brainwashed students. Then she finds a secret fireplace where there's a timed bomb. It's just under 13 minutes left. You gotta fight this dude. It's a tough fight, but she impales him on some glass. And Raimi's in the chopper and about to get away, but she sees that Saki made it to the roof. So she jumps out of the chopper to kill Saki herself. Like a crazy person, just leave. Raimi fights with a whip, so it's whip versus yo-yo. But Saki drops her yo-yo and is getting whipped. The cops show up and the chopper shoots at them, but Jin lines up that shot and shoots the pilot and it crashes. And Raimi did some research. We learned that Saki's mom is in jail for murdering Saki's father, and it's looking bad. When Saki throws that bell that Junko used to wear and hits Raimi in the eye. Then she grabs her yo-yo and hits Raimi in the head, winning the fight. Good guys are always losing till they get one hit. Then the bomb goes off. I set a timer and it didn't even last 8 minutes. Sanpei screams out for Saki as the mansion crumbles. Everyone screams, and it's a pretty bad dub screaming here. I laugh.
Don't cry, Sanpei.
Oh, don't cry. The cheers are bad too, because it turns out Saki made it. And she's got Raimi handcuffed. She did it. And Junko comes back to life. Nah, she doesn't. That'd be funny or good. That would have been, but no, she's dead. And that's it. That's where it ends. This was all right. I give it a lot of the time when one of the Mizuchi sisters was doing something evil, they just zoomed in on a snake and I counted each time that happened. And I got to 10. I'm hoping I didn't miss any. Out of 10. Up next, releasing April 21st, 1991, Sweet Spot. This is a little 40-minute ditty about golfing. 2 golfing shows. Who would have thought? And this is Nan. She works at Marinouchi's Major Products and she plans a big golfing trip for the company. They hit the green and have a bunch of golfing fun, and Nan wins the golf. And she wants a man. They talk about that a lot. She wants to prove that she can be a good salesman. They challenge some college girls to golf. They rarely do their jobs and just hang out all day talking trash. That's it. Just a bunch of hanging out and golf. I give it
ファンキーショット
out of 10. Up next, releasing May 2nd, 1991, 21 Emon. This one's 39 episodes and I can only find 9 of them, and they aren't subbed. Let me tell you what I think happens. In the year 2018, little buddy Emon wants to be a space pilot and explore space. But Earth has become a tourist spot for spacefaring races, and he has to help out his family's hotel. Look at Doraemon in the background. In the first episode, he be trying to sneak out into space with his family's robot, but his papa catches him. He has to go back to where he lives and go back to class. Their hotel is for the aliens that visit Earth. They set up the hotel room to the aliens' homeworld specification, like the atmosphere and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. They house a guest, and it turns out that he didn't have any money, and he gives them this little Squimmy as payment. So Squimmy can teleport and do toonish things that they don't know what's going on with this fool. Papa has a dated mustache, you know? It was dated in 91, let's be honest. The way the aliens look are all over the place. Like you got this little bald guy and this little tiger thing. Whenever Emon starts to get a little toot toot, one of his eyes gets all wonky donkey. It's pretty funny. He's always trying to go out into space and always gets sent back. Yeah, that's what it's about. Little kid helping an alien hotel. I give it this naked dude hitting people with a hammer out of 10. Up next, releasing May 4th, 1991. Oh My Konbu. This is 39 episodes and you guessed it, it's not subbed. So, Konbu's a little cook with a pervert dad. He's friends with a pineapple head and he goes to school with all kinds of vegetable and fruit heads. In class, they got a microwave that's a caveman. They have a lot of cooking face-offs and stadiums and there's some cooking villains sometimes and he helps out with cooking problems. There's a lot of talking and explaining how to cook. I'm really not sure, like that's pretty much all that happens. They just solve problems with cooking. I give it, the son is so chill. Look at him. Out of 10. All right, I'm gonna hit you with some stats. In those 20 shows, we had 2 shows about golf, 2 orphans, 2 villains who try to raise cities out of the ground, 4 chosen ones, 5 clones, 2 giant robot shows, and 7 of the shows weren't subbed. All right, still going strong. I'll see you in the next one. Extra bits on the Patreon thing. Yeah, peace out. Love you. See you later.